we go to a plea hearing in Wenatchee, Washington. 55-year-old Christopher Dickinson has pled guilty to simple assault and reckless driving. 5 months earlier, the defendant, a former deputy prosecutor, was attending a training conference at a waterfront resort. After consuming high levels of alcohol, Dickinson allegedly groped a female colleague and tried to pull her onto his lap. And the night did not end there. Around midnight, Dickinson and his girlfriend, Lee Kellogg, went for a drunken boat ride with Kellogg at the helm. After she nearly crashed into a dock, they were called into shore by police.
I know I'm under the influence.
Okay. She's very intoxicated.
When officers tried to conduct a sobriety test with Kellogg, Dickinson appeared to do his best to stop the test.
Listen to me.
Sir, I need you to stop, okay?
No.
There's Dickinson making a slashing motion with his arm, a signal for Kellogg to stop cooperating.
Sir, I need you to stop, okay?
No.
As the questioning continued, Dickinson made his way closer to the scene.
I need you to stop.
I'm a f***ing lawyer.
I don't care. It really doesn't matter.
I'm giving her a legal
Okay,
advice.
she's not your lawyer. You need to step back.
I'm stepping back.
No, you're not. You need to step back.
So she can hear me.
You need to step back, or I'm going to put you in cuffs for obstructing.
I'm not going to advance any further.
No, you're not, because you're going to step back.
How many steps?
Past my car. That's where you were before.
Dickinson did as he was told, but then Kellogg failed her sobriety test.
I'm worried you're gonna fall, okay? Okay. I don't.
Police took her to the station for booking.
Okay. All right.
Despite being intoxicated himself, Dickinson decided to drive to the station and wait for Kellogg to be released. Police found him in the parking lot, passed out behind the wheel around 2:45 a.m. and arrested him on an initial charge of physical control of a vehicle while intoxicated. Soon after, Dickinson was fired from his job. For groping his colleague, he was initially charged with fourth-degree assault with sexual motivation. But after agreeing to take a plea, the charges were reduced to simple assault and reckless driving. Today at sentencing, the defense argues that Dickinson made a one-time mistake.
Prior to this incident, the only kind of bad mark on his record was the speeding ticket. And feels remorse about the mistakes that he made. So we are asking the court not to impose any additional jail time as a result of this.
Before Judge Roy Four imposes sentence, Dickinson asks the court for leniency.
I had too much to drink. I obviously voluntarily chose to drink too much. The Prosecuting Attorneys Association chose to overserve me. I've lost my job and career of 29 years. I've lost a lot of friends. I've asked the court to follow my attorney's recommendation.
When he was finished, the judge sentenced Dickinson to 4 days in jail, plus 2 years probation. He must also pay a fine of $5,000 and undergo alcohol abuse and sexual deviancy evaluations. He was later suspended for 6 months by the Washington State Bar Association. As for Kellogg, she pled guilty to reckless boating, was sentenced to 2 years probation, and fined $500. Next, we're in San Luis Obispo, California, where even though court is in recess, things are heating up between opposing counsel. On one side is Timothy McGill, whose client, a state hospital employee, is suing for wrongful termination. And on the other end of the table is the state's second highest ranking legal officer, Deputy Attorney General Jenny Mariah Kelly. Moments earlier, during cross-examination of a state witness, McGill asked the witness if she had met Kelly earlier in the day, prior to testimony. This particular question, an effort to potentially cast doubt on the witness's credibility, angers Kelly. And now she's letting everyone know. Gesturing wildly and reportedly raising her voice, bailiff Tyler Brooks approaches Kelly and tells her to stop shouting and then asks her to leave the courtroom. But based on Kelly's body language, it appears she's not interested in going anywhere. And now here's something you don't see every day. A state's deputy attorney general about to be escorted out of court. If only it ended there. According to the sheriff's report, after Kelly refuses to lower her voice or leave the courtroom, the bailiff then grabs her hands to escort her out. But when she pulls away, the bailiff wrestles her to the floor. As Kelly's co-counsel looks on in disbelief, other deputies arrive and help handcuff Kelly as she continues to resist. Once on her feet, a few more words are exchanged before she's finally escorted out of the courtroom. The California Deputy Attorney General was charged with resisting a peace officer, but later pled no contest to the lesser charge of disturbing the peace. She was also ordered to pay a $1,000 fine and complete anger management classes. Next, we're in Ann Arbor, Michigan for a sentencing hearing. 43-year-old Andrew Lewis has pled guilty to fourth-degree criminal sexual conduct. 3 years earlier, 40-year-old Christy Kenyon was invited out for drinks by her hairdresser, who brought along her husband, the defendant. Later that night, back at Lewis's home, Christy says she became lightheaded after eating a taco that he'd served her. She told police that the next thing she remembers is waking up naked and being sexually assaulted by Lewis. Christy reported the incident, and Lewis was arrested. Although she claims that Lewis's wife was aware of the incident, she was never charged. In a deal agreed to by the defense and prosecution, who'd gotten the approval of the victim, Lewis pled guilty to fourth-degree criminal sexual conduct, and now faces a sentence ranging anywhere from probation to 11 months in prison.
Number 35, People versus Andrew Lewis.
Today he appears virtually before Judge Patrick Conlon, who'll be handing down his sentence. Also on the call is the prosecutor, Christina Hines, along with the victim, who appears openly in court to face down the man who attacked her.
It has been over 3 years since the incident occurred that would forever alter my life. You and your wife invited me to a bonfire. You drugged the beer, you handed me towards the end of the night, and you drugged the taco meat. You carried my body from the living room to your bed, so insanely disgusting. You proceeded to remove my clothes and rape me. When I came to, I was beyond horrified and so confused as to what was happening. I could not move. I was paralyzed from the neck down by the drug that you used. I could not speak or scream. I lay there helpless as you raped me and did nothing. And you actually had the audacity to say to me, just keep still and it will be over soon.
That's defense attorney Ellen Michaels on her cell phone during the victim's statement.
You did this to a mom, to an innocent family. Do you understand that? You should be locked up and throw away the key. You are indeed a rapist. Your wife is your accomplice. I did nothing wrong and nothing to deserve this. Andrew Lewis, I came forward to ensure that you never do this to anyone ever again.
When she's finished, defense attorney Michaels makes a statement.
I'd like to speak to a minute about, some of the things you heard today. And Andrew's wife wasn't charged. If there was evidence that she had done anything wrong, she would have been charged. Moreover, there were tox screens taken of the complainant in this case, and there were no drugs in her system. And most drugs that give the kind of feeling that she described would have been in her system in the very short time frame of which she went to the hospital. There's been no evidence at all that that was the case, but there was evidence that she voluntarily did drink quite a bit of alcohol. And that's also part of what was going on here, is that all the parties were drinking alcohol and engaging in adult activities.
Judge Conlon's ready to render his sentence, but first he has a few words for the defense.
Ms. Michaels, I'm a little troubled by your speech there. to point out how Ms. Kenyon might have been culpable at this stage of the game is perhaps not your wisest course in the future. Additionally, anytime a victim is making a statement, if you're ever in my court again and you pull out your telephone to do something with it, I'm going to stop the proceedings at that time because you did it twice. And I don't know if you're aware that your camera was on, but we all saw that. So utterly inappropriate.
The judge sentences Lewis to 5 years probation with several conditions. He has to register as a sex offender, undergo therapy, and he's prohibited from having any contact with the victim. Next, we take you to a trial in Kenosha, Wisconsin. 42-year-old Zachariah Anderson has been charged with first-degree intentional homicide, hiding a corpse, and 2 counts of stalking. 3 years earlier, police say Anderson's ex-girlfriend, Sadie Beecham, ended her relationship with the defendant and began seeing 40-year-old Rosalio Gutierrez Jr. When Sadie was unable to get in touch with Rosalio, she told police she went to his apartment, where she found the patio door open and blood splattered on the walls and furniture. But there was no sign of Rosalio. Sadie told police that Anderson had been stalking her, so they began investigating him. They executed a search warrant on Anderson's van and discovered blood that matched Rosalio's DNA. They also found evidence that the interior of the van had been cleaned with bleach. And around the time of Rosalio's disappearance, investigators discovered Anderson on a store security camera shopping for cleaning products. Despite not finding Rosalio's body, police arrested Anderson for his murder. He pled not guilty and was held on $750,000 bond. Today, it's day 8 of the trial, and prosecutor Michael Gravely is questioning Marquand Washington, Anderson's cellmate in the county jail.
It appeared to you he was having a nightmare.
Yes.
And what do you remember about that incident?
I heard him shout in his sleep before he woke himself up.
And what did he shout that you heard?
He said, "Die, die, die, motherfucker."
As Washington says, "Die, die, die," the prosecutor seems to be mouthing the same words.
What did he shout that you heard?
He said, "Die, die, die."
The defense say they didn't notice at the time, but a week later, after receiving a number of tips, Anderson's attorney, John Birdsall, brings it to Judge Bruce Schroeder's attention.
So we, the defense team, we were contacted by a number of people and were sent clips of Marquand Washington's direct testimony describing Zach in his sleep, and he said, quote, "Die, die, die," end quote. But then as he was saying those words, those very words, the camera panned to Mr. Gravely, and one can see Mr. Gravely mouthing the words, "Die, die, die."
You're suggesting that Mr. Gravely has been feeding the witness answers.
That's exactly what it looks like.
How can one coach a witness by saying something simultaneously with a witness?
I don't want to talk about it right now. I want to look at it.
The judge ultimately decides there's no evidence of misconduct and allows the trial to continue. When both sides came to rest, it took a jury 10 hours to reach a verdict. Guilty on all charges. Anderson was later sentenced to life in prison with credit for over 1,000 days already served. He'll be eligible for parole in 40 years when he'd be 80 years old. Next up, we're in Eureka, Kansas for a follow-up hearing. 43-year-old Sergio Hernandez Camacho has pled guilty to operating an unregistered vehicle. Originally, he was also charged with driving without insurance, but that was dropped after he pled guilty to the operating charge. As part of the plea deal, Hernandez Camacho agreed to pay a fine of $108 and be processed at the local jail before being released.
State of Kansas versus Sergio Hernandez Camacho.
Today, Hernandez Camacho appears remotely from his attorney Vincent Garcia's office before Judge Phyllis Webster. The judge is not happy after learning that Hernandez Camacho has not been processed at the local jail.
So, where is your client today?
He is here, Judge. I can turn this around.
Yes, please. Deputy Caulfield,
Yes, ma'am.
I want this gentleman processed today and I want him released.
Okay.
The statute says that all A and B misdemeanors are to be processed. I'm required to make that order under Kansas law.
Before the deputy takes over, Garcia has a request.
I need to make a record also.
Go ahead, sir.
We will file a notice of appeal. There's an error in the law that was made in the procedural process by you, the magistrate. There's also a failure by the magistrate to allow a hearing on the requested recusal of yourself. It's required by state statute.
Garcia is arguing that his client did not need to be processed for driving without a registration because it's not an A or B level misdemeanor. He's also made a written request to Chief Judge David Rickey to have Judge Webster recused from the case, a request he claims has been ignored.
The emails had indicated that you would not maintain a neutral and detached magistrate.
Hey, counsel, I'm going to have to stop you,
process.
sir. I'm going to have to stop you right there. I don't recall
Okay,
you
I need to
asking-
finish one more thing, Judge, and then you can say whatever you want.
Well, are you in
We will
charge of this
also
courtroom,
appeal
sir?
the-
Are you in charge of this courtroom, sir, or am I? What's your
I just
understanding?
want to clarify
What,
for the
sir,
record
is
for
your-
appeal, Judge.
Sir, what is your understanding of the magistrate's position in a court of law and the attorneys? Do you believe that you are in charge of the magistrate in a court of law, that you tell the court when to shut up and let you finish? Is that your understanding of the law?
Judge, I was trying to finish my record for appeal.
Sir, and I'm happy to let you make your record of appeal, but I want to inquire of you, are you saying that you asked me to recuse myself?
Judge, that is
That's a simple
correct.
question.
That's correct.
After hearing Garcia out, the judge makes her decision.
All right, Mr. Garcia, I will recuse myself from this hearing. I will hold in abeyance any further actions of your client, and you can take this up to Judge Rickey again.
And just to clarify, Judge, my client's not going to go to get the fingerprints done.
Well, I made my order.
No, right now.
My order is still my order, but we'll let the other judge decide if that's an enforceable decision or not.
Okay, very, very well, Judge. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judge Rickey later ruled that Judge Webster did have the authority to have Hernandez Camacho processed, but since he'd already pled guilty and paid his fine, the case is now closed.